Good morning all. Today we are going to discuss about socio-cultural correlation of intelligence, that is social classes, racial and ethnic differences. Social culture theory is an emerging theory in psychology that looks at the important contributions that society makes to individual development. This theory stresses the interaction between developing people and the culture in which they live. Socio-cultural theory also suggests that human learning is largely a social process. Socio-cultural theory focuses not only how adults and peers influence individual learning, but also on how cultural beliefs and attitudes affect how learning takes place. Sociocultural characteristics. Basically, sociocultural factors are customs, lifestyles, and values that characterize a society. More specifically, cultural aspects includes aesthetics, education, language, law and politics, religion, social organizations, technology and material culture, values and attitudes. Definition of sociocultural. Sociocultural is a framework that emphasizes the responsibility of social and cultural context in human learning. And also sociocultural is a mixture or interaction of social and cultural elements. Sociocultural characteristics. They are home environment, gender, language, ethnic background, social class. Intelligence. Intelligence has been defined in many ways. Higher level abilities, the ability to learn, emotional knowledge, creativity and adaptation to meet the demands of the environment effectively. It is defined as mental activity directed towards purposive adaptation to selection and shaping of real world environments relevant to one's life. Now let's have an idea about socio-cultural context and intelligence. Intelligent behavior and people's conceptions of intelligence are best understood in the socio-cultural context of the behavior. Since what one culture values as intelligent behavior may not be so considered in another culture, it is important to discuss intelligence in its socio-cultural context. Intelligence, much like many other value-laden conceptions and traditions, is heavily dependent upon cultural expectations, goals, orientations, demands, environmental conditions, technological advances, and means of commerce and trade. This does not necessarily mean that intelligence in different cultures is quantitatively different in terms of most commonly included components in our contemporary conception of intelligence. What produces group differences on intelligence tests developed in one culture and used in another is the content and context of the items. Therefore, it is important to examine carefully the nature of the items and the ways in which correct responses to those items are learned in different cultures. If the same item, for example, is appropriate in two cultures, it may then be necessary to know what different ways of responding are considered correct in different cultures. If it turns out that different responses are indeed considered correct and are thus reinforced and valued, then it follows that we can accept qualitative differences on intelligence measures regardless of what set of items are included in tests to capture a sample of intelligent behavior. In this paper, a view of intelligence with a particular emphasis on socio-cultural context and as an expression of occurred behavior are considered. Next one, implication of socio-cultural diversity from the perspective of a teacher and a student. First of all, we can discuss about the teacher. The teacher should be professional, give people equal treatment, then ensure that people socialize and interact without any cultural restrictions, then respect students, be punctual and use various T and L methods. Then the socio-cultural diversity from the perspective of a people. The people should respect other culture and religion and also take opportunity to learn from other culture, be sensitive, consider others' feeling, be friendly with everyone and accept the differences. Effects of socio-cultural diversity. Structured classroom activities can highlight diversity. Mutual respect is a part of the equation. No child left behind shines the light on achievement gaps among the diverse groups of students. Race. Race is often thought to be based on genetic traits, but there is no reliable means of identifying race based on genetic information. The concept of race is important in discussing cultural competence. Race is a social construct that describes people with shared physical characteristics. It can have tremendous social significance in terms of behavioral health service, social opportunities, status, wealth, and so on. Indeed, 85% of human genetic diversity is found within any racial group. Thus, what we perceive as diverse races are much more genetically similar than they are different. Moreover, physical characteristics ascribed to a particular racial group can also appear in people who are not in that group. Although it lacks a genetic basis, the concept of race is important in discussing cultural competence. Race is a social construct that describes people with shared physical characteristics. It can have tremendous social significance in terms of behavioral health services, social opportunities, status, wealth, and so on. The perception that people who share physical characteristics also share beliefs, values, attitudes, and ways of being can have a profound impact on people's lives regardless of whether they identify with the race to which they are ascribed by themselves or others. Ethnicity. The term ethnicity is sometimes used interchangeably with race, although it is important to draw distinctions between the two. Ethnicity refers to social identity and mutual sense of belonging that defines a group of people through common historical or family origins, beliefs, and standards of behavior. In some cases, it also refers to identification with a clan or group whose identity can be based on race as well as culture. Ethnicity differs from race in that groups of people can share a common racial ancestry yet have very different ethnic identities. Thus, by definition, ethnicity, unlike race, is an explicitly cultural phenomenon. It is based on a shared culture or family heritage as well as shared values and beliefs rather than shared physical characteristics. Then social class. Sociologists often discuss social class as an important aspect in defining an individual's cultural background. Socioeconomic status is used as a category similar to class, the difference being that socioeconomic status is a more flexible and less hierarchically defined concept. Socioeconomic status affects culture in several ways, namely through a person's ability to accumulate material wealth, access opportunities, and use resources. Most literature suggests that poverty and its consequences, including limited access to resources, increased stress and vulnerability among individuals who may already be predisposed to mental illness. Often theoretically, discussions explaining a significant relationship between mental illness and socioeconomic status suggest a bidirectional relationship in which stress from poverty leads to mental illness vulnerability, or mental illness leads to difficulty in maintaining employment and sufficient income. And this is all about socio-cultural correlates of intelligence. Thank you.